Hey guys, Maddie here, brought to you again by Metro Nashville Public Schools and Oz Arts. We are doing some really cool STEAM-inspired projects, and mine is a two-part project. So in part one, we did some creative writing, and in part two, we're going to take that writing and turn it into a solar system-inspired zine. So for this project, we've taken elements of science and elements of the arts, and we've combined them together to make something totally new. And that's the coolest part about STEAM education to me, is that it helps you to really get creative and innovative and to think about things in a different way. And we certainly did some creative thinking in part one of this video. We had to think about ourselves as the sun. We had to think about people and places and things in our lives as the planets. The phases of the moon as the phases of our lives. We had to get really kind of deep and introspective there. And the cool thing is that now we're going to take some of that writing that we did and we're going to turn it into something really beautiful. We are going to make our own original, personalized art zines. Remember that a zine can be any kind of handmade book or journal. It can be about anything you want. Some zines tell stories, some are almost like personal diaries, some will share information, and they can look all sorts of different ways. Since I'm a multimedia artist and I love playing around with using different techniques, you'll see in this video that I do some doodling, I do some collaging, I do some coloring. I try to play around with writing in different interesting ways. So I want you guys to know that while I'm going to share lots of different ideas with you about how I'm decorating my zine, I want you to have creative freedom here too. So if you have a really exciting idea of something that you want to try to decorate your pages with, please do. This is your zine and you can do it however you like. So you guys ready to get started? Alright, so for materials, I've got 10 pieces of just plain computer paper here. I've got a stapler, a pair of scissors, I've got some colored pencils, but markers or crayons would work too. I've got some glue and some tape. I found some different pieces of colored paper and index cards and scrapbook paper I'm going to use. If you have any fun materials like that, you can go ahead and grab those. If not, that's totally fine. I've also got a magazine I'm going to use. And then I've got my writing that I did for the last video, responding to our creative writing prompts. And that's what we're going to use today. So first we're going to make our little zine booklet. So this is what it'll look like. We're just going to take our plain paper and we're going to fold it in half, and then we're going to staple to make a spine. So I'm just creasing my pages down here. And then I just did 3 staples. And then after I've done that, I'm just going to go through and kind of crease the pages, make it nice and flat. Okay, and I'm going to let you guys decorate your covers last. You have total freedom there to do this however you want. So we're going to open up our books, and these first 2 pages are going to be all about the sun prompt. So we wrote down 10 words that described ourselves, and that's what we're going to use to decorate these pages. So first we're going to do a quick self-portrait, and I'm going to use this green paper here to draw my portrait. You could also just draw your portrait directly on the page, and you can do this however you want to. But I'm going to challenge you to do a quick contour portrait, a line contour. And this is where we're going to try to draw our face without ever picking up the pen. It's a little tricky. This is kind of a messy, fun, quick way to draw yourself. So I'm going to start with my eye here. And then without picking up that pen, I'm going around the bottom of my face, and I'm going to draw my other eye. Again, these are not going to be perfect, but they always turn out really fun. Going to draw my nose, and I'm so tempted to pick up my pen here, but I don't. I draw my lips, all one line. Going up to do my hair. I just think these always turn out so cool. And then after you finish your self-portrait, you can add some color to it. So I'm going to use my colored pencils, and I'm just going to fill in. And I'm not trying to make this realistic, as you can see. I've done some blue hair. So you guys can really get creative here. So since this is our sun prompt, we are going to make ourselves the sun of these pages. So once you have your self-portrait, then you're going to make some rays of sunshine. And those are going to kind of frame the rest of the pages. You can draw these rays, you can cut them out of colorful paper like I did, however you want. And then we're going to look at our list of 10 words that we use to describe ourselves. And we're going to write all of those words on our page. See if you can write each word a different way. Maybe using a different color, a different size. You could write some of the words in cursive or bubble letters. And you can put them anywhere you want on the page. Making a zine like this is all about being creative and expressing yourself. There's no right or wrong way to do this. So I just kind of randomly arranged my words all over the page. And I added some different colors just to make it really fun and bright. Alright, and here are my first two pages. I'm finishing up. I'm really happy with how they turned out. So our next two pages are about the planets. So we chose our 8 planets and we wrote a little bit about one of them. I ended up writing about my friends and why my friends are so important to me. So I found a picture in this magazine here that reminded me of my friends. We got a group of people. So I'm going to use that. You could also draw a picture about one of your planets. So on this one page here, we're going to kind of create a visual representation. And on the next page, I'm going to draw my 8 planets. And in between those planets, I'm going to write my sentence that I wrote about my friends. I wrote that my friends are important to me because they bring joy and love in my life. So I'm going to take those words from my prompt and write them sort of in between these planets. I decided to make the words joy and love really big. I thought that would be interesting. Alright, so our next prompt was about the stars, our 10 wishes. So for these 2 pages, I decided to cut out different colors of stars. I'm going to use those later. And I'm just going to write down all of my 10 wishes. And I decided I would take up both pages this time, writing out my wishes. And I wrote them really nice and large here, so they took up a lot of room. So I wrote down my wishes in different colors. And then I'm going to add some paper stars on top. So they're kind of buried in the stars. I added some pops of yellow with my colored pencil there too, just to add a little more color. And again, you can do these pages however you like. These are just ideas. So the next 2 pages are dedicated to the moon, so we wrote a piece of advice to our past or future self, inspired by the phases of the moon. So we are going to draw or cut out a crescent moon here, which is the one that looks like a big C. And then we're going to glue it down to the left side of our booklet. And then I'm going to cut out some thick red rectangles. And these I'm going to kind of use like notebook paper lines. So now, in between the lines, I'm going to write down my advice. Okay, and our last prompt was inspired by the telescope, so we wrote down some song lyrics that we love. And depending on what song lyrics you chose, you're going to decorate these last 2 pages to kind of illustrate those lyrics. So since the lyrics I chose were about starting a garden, I'm going to make a garden on my page here. So I'm going to use some different colored pieces of paper, and I'm also going to add some doodles. So this will just depend on how you want to illustrate your song lyrics. You could use pictures from magazines, you could draw, you could paint. Here is my little garden that I made for mine. And there we go. Alright, so you should now have your finished zine here. I wish I could see them all. I'm sure they're all really cool and unique, and you might have noticed that I did leave you guys a few blank pages at the end, and you can fill those however you want to, with quotes or more song lyrics. You can try writing a poem, or you could put in pictures of your friends and your family. However you want to fill that. I hope this is something that you guys can keep for a long time to remember this time of your life. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and happy art making.